In chapter 1, they talk about intervals, and I want to show you how we measure intervals. It will also help us understand how to notate intervals. So first of all, we'll talk about simple intervals. Simple intervals are basically up to an octave, okay? And that's pretty much what we'll cover. There are also possibly what we call compound intervals. We'll discuss that in another session. And intervals have two parts. There's an interval number and there's an interval quality. Okay, and those are two different things. Any interval is basically determined only by the letters, the spelling of the two notes in question. Okay, so here's an interval, C to C sharp. Here's that basically the same sound as you will hear. Okay, but this time it's C to D flat. So as far as what it sounds like and the fact that these are semitones, that's true. But this one is what we're going to call an augmented unison, and this one is what we're going to call a minor second, again, because of the difference in spelling. This is spelled as a second, C, D. This is spelled as a unison, C, C sharp. So anytime we want to find an interval number, we simply look at the spelling and we'll count how many letters we are away from the lower note to the upper note. The next part of it is the interval quality. Okay, the quality depends really on the number of half steps between two notes. So we're going to have to understand that each interval type, quality, has to have a certain number of notes in order to be that quality. Here's another thing that's important to understand. Whether an interval ascends, goes up, descends, goes down, or whether the intervals are simultaneous, okay, like this one here, the lower note is used to measure the interval number and quality. Okay, so let's listen to these examples here, the first four. Okay, so this first one, as you can see, F to G, that makes it a second, okay? And then this would be a major second because major seconds have two half steps. So down here we would write, okay, this is a major second, okay? Now this one, B to C sharp, okay? If you think about the notes, okay, on the piano, think about the piano, B, 1, up to C, 1, up to C sharp. So this again is also a major second, okay? This one is a simultaneous one, but we're going to use the lower note, G up to A, and again, notice there'll be G, maybe G sharp, or you could call it A flat, A, so it has two half steps, so this is also a major second. Now this third one is not a major second. Let's listen to the difference here. Let's go. Okay, that is not a major second. Doesn't sound like this one. See? Now, what is it? Well, it's some type of second, okay? But let's see. A to A sharp or B flat, that's 1. B flat to B, or whatever you want to call it, that's 2. And then B sharp, this has 3 half steps. So rather than calling it a major second, see, it's larger. So when something's larger than a major by a half step, we call it an augmented second. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We got to understand that if something's larger than the major type, it's an augmented. If it's smaller, okay, than the minor type, okay, as we will see, then it's going to be diminished. So majors have different categories, okay? 1 half step bigger than a major makes it an augmented. 1 half step lower than a major second would make it possibly a minor second, right? okay? And so that one we would call a minor second if this were, for example, A flat, okay? But now if this A flat were even lower, then we'd have to call it a diminished second, which is kind of rare, so we won't worry too much about that one. All right, so what is this one, okay? E to F. Okay, well, E to F, let's listen. That doesn't sound like a major second. E to F is only 1/2 step, so this would be a minor second. Okay, this one, that one does sound like this. Okay, that sounds like a major second, but again, it's not spelled as a second because B, D, that skips a letter, so that's some type of third. So this has 2/2 steps, but it's a third, so instead of being a minor third, it is a diminished third. Okay, so diminished third is enharmonically, we call the thing enharmonically, it sounds the same, but it's spelled differently as a major second. All right, this one, okay, it doesn't sound like a major second. This is just B to C, so this is, of course, a minor second. Okay, just 1/2 step between B and C. And then this one, let's listen to this one here. Okay, that doesn't sound like a major second. Let's see, I'll make this one a major second here for a second here. Let's listen to this one, and then listen to this one. These aren't the same. So this one is more than a major second. So A to G is a major second, and this is A to G flat. So rather than a major second, this is again another example of the augmented second. This is an augmented second. In this case, again, remember whether it descends or ascends, we're going to use the bottom note. So G flat up to A. Okay? So that's kind of some of the seconds and thirds problems. Is we can start to see that a major second can also be spelled as a diminished third. And it can also be spelled, if it's higher, right, it can also be 3/2 steps and it's an augmented second. All right, so basically here now I show you what something that's really good to know is the number of half steps in each basic interval type. So the minor second has, of course, 1/2 step. It's enharmonically equivalent to an augmented unison. Also, if you went down but spelled it the same note, for example, A to A flat, it would be a diminished unison, but it would still have 1/2 step. A major second typically has 2/2 steps, and we showed you already the possibility of a diminished third being the same sound, right? 2/2 steps, and even possibly a doubly, so if you augment something twice, doubly augmented unison. A minor third, okay, which is also, as you saw up there, an augmented second, has 3/2 steps. So if it's spelled, for example, C to E flat, that would be 3/2 steps. That's a minor third. If it were spelled C to D sharp, that would still be 3/2 steps, but we'd have to call it, since it's C to D, an augmented second. All right, so I'm not going to keep going into all these odd possibilities, but anyway, the major third, okay, will have 4/2 steps. Okay, so if I count up 4/2 steps and I'm spelled in thirds, I have a major third. An example would be, if you look at your keyboard, C to E is a major third, because C, 1 C sharp, 2 D, 3 E flat, let's say, 4 E, so there's 4/2 steps. Okay, then the perfect fourth is the next thing. So now we start talking about intervals that are perfect, okay? And so the ones that are perfect are the unison, okay, the perfect fourth, the perfect fifth, and the perfect octave. So we don't ever use M category for fourths, fifths, unisons, or octaves. It's only P types, okay? So the perfect fourth has 5 half steps, okay? The augmented fourth has 6 half steps. Also, by the way, diminished fifth, and this is the thing we know as a tritone. So that's the tritone, 6 half steps. Okay, the perfect fifth has 7. You might also see, and we will at one point in theory talk about the doubly augmented fourth, which is the same thing as a perfect fifth. 7. 6, well, we have a minor 6 that has 8 half steps. We also have augmented fifths. Same thing, it would be spelled as a fifth, but it would have 8 half steps. Major sixth, 9 half steps. Minor seventh, which by the way can also almost commonly be seen as an augmented sixth, is 10 half steps. The major seventh is 11 half steps, and the perfect octave is 12. Okay, so those are this is a good thing to kind of memorize here, the number of half steps in each interval. Okay, so what do I mean? What are we talking about here? Well, we have to sort of look at some examples. So here's an example. Okay, so what are the intervals in this example? Okay, we have to measure each one. As we go, we'll measure from the bottom note to the top note. Okay, so here we go. So this first interval is G to B, so we would count, as you can see, it's a third, right? And if you look, you'll see that there's 4 half steps. G to G sharp is 1, G sharp to A is 2, A to B flat, let's say, is 3, and B flat to B natural would be 4, so this has 4 half steps, so this would be a major third. Okay, so now when we're measuring the intervals, we're going to measure from the B to the D next, okay? And as you can see, again, this is a third. So how many half steps? Well, B to C is 1, C to C sharp would be 2, and D 3. So this would be a minor third. So we'd have a major third, a minor third. Now we got to go down here from D down to F sharp, okay? Well, again, whether it's ascending or descending, in this case it's descending, we still are going to use the bottom note and count up from there, okay? So as you can see, basically the letters F to D make it a sixth, okay? So we just count letters. F is 1, G, A, B, C, D. That's 6. So what type of sixth is it? So this is where we can do a couple of things. One thing is we can, if we know the key signature for F sharp, okay, we would know that the 6th scale degree would be what? Well, F sharp has 6 sharps, so the 6th scale degree would be D sharp. So we also know that all the ascending intervals from a tonic, right, are going to be major or perfect, depending on the number. So this one is not D sharp, so this would be a minor 6, okay? But if we count the half steps, you can see, which is a little bit slower process, but F sharp to G is 1, G to G sharp is 2, G sharp to A is 3, A to B flat is 4, B flat to B is 5, B to C is 6, okay? Then we get 7 to C sharp and we get 8, and as you can see here, we need to get 8 semitones to make it a minor 6. Again, it's better to know the key signature of the bottom note and compare the notes that are in its key signature to the note that you're looking at. Okay, so that's that one. Let's take a look at this one here. So this would be a minor 6, okay? This one, B down to F. Okay, so B down to F. Well, we have to, again, if you want to think about the bottom note's key signature, well, F has 1 flat, right? And that 1 flat is B flat. So this would be spelled as some type of fourth, okay? If it were a perfect fourth, this would be B flat, because again, all the intervals in the major, as we discussed previously, in the major scale from the bottom note as a tonic would be perfect. Okay, so this is not a perfect fourth. Okay, rather this would be an augmented fourth. Okay, so this is an augmented fourth here. We would write +4. Then of course F to G, that's an easy one. That's just 2 semitones. So this is a major second. And then here we go again with G to E. Well, again, if we look at G as tonic, of course, 1 sharp, right? So E natural would be in the key. That would be a major 6, and this is E flat. So this would make this a minor 6th. Okay? So once again, we have to look at clefs to figure out what's going on with where what the interval distances are. So here we go, very easy. Okay, so what we can do here is we can say, well, this of course is a minor second. It's spelled as a second, and it's just 1/2 step up. Okay, now this one, okay, we'd have to just, again, we would look at the bottom note and count up. Well, F to E is 7, right? So F, G, A, B, C, D, E. So it's some type of 7. The number is 7. And then again, if you look at the bottom note, F has 1 flat. And so F to E would be a major 7th, okay? And this is F to E flat, so this would be a minor 7th. So right here we're looking at a descending minor 7th, okay? And then the next one is F up to C. Now again, F, we're going to use that as our tonic, and of course 1 flat, B flat. So F up to C. This C does fit in the key, so this, and the number here would be, again counting up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would be a perfect 5th. Okay? Now, I'm just going to go by the measure. I'm not going to measure this one to this one. So here, okay, so A up to C, okay, again, if you want to use, again, this one you could just count, right? A to B is 1, or excuse me, A to A sharp or B flat is 1, B flat to B, and then B to C. So this is 3, so this qualifies as a minor 3rd. This one is a minor 3rd. Again, if you thought about the key signature, A major has 3 sharps, one of which is C sharp, right? So this would be C natural, so this would be smaller than a major 3rd, so this would have to be a minor 3rd. Okay, then going down from C down to G, right? G, A, B, C, this is some type of 4th. And so now we would use G as our home key, and C would fit in that, so this would be a perfect 4th. And here again is an example of not a minor second, but an augmented unison. Okay, so now we're looking at the alto clef. So again, this is conveniently, I put the C here, so that's a C. Okay, so I go C, and then if you look carefully, this is a G, A, B. So this is C to B. This would be a major 7th, okay? And then this would be B down to G, okay? So if you think about the key of G, it would have a B in it, right? So 1 sharp. So this would be a major 3rd. And then this one would be D to G. So the key of D would have G in it. So this would be a perfect 4th, D to G. That spells 4th. So perfect 4th. So major 7th, major 3rd, perfect 4th. All right, on this last one, we have the tenor clef, okay? So that's a C, so this is a D. Okay, so this is an A. All right, so right here, A to A sharp, that's easy. That's an augmented unison, okay? And then this one is going to be some type of 4th, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we don't know what type of 4th yet, but we'll have to check that out. Okay, so now we got a D and an A, so we're going to use A, right? And so this is some type of 4th. So this one is going to be a perfect 4th because if you look at A and its key signature, there would be a D in that scale. So that makes this a perfect, this is a descending perfect 4th. We already know this one is an augmented unison, right? D to D sharp. Now what about this one? Well, one thing, if you have A sharp is kind of a strange key to have to work with, right? So we would have to say, well, okay, What about if this sharp wasn't here and this sharp wasn't here? So I cover up those two sharps, right? Which means I lower each note by a half step. And as you will see, this is the same. This would be the same as these, right? So this would be D to G, right? So this would be, again, a perfect fourth, okay? So yeah, if you have a key signature that's kind of a strange one, not 7 sharps, you know, sometimes there's things that have 8 sharps, 9 sharps, which means they have double sharps, then you can just cover up both notes. Sometimes you can just cover up one note and make a comparison and find a convenient key to use. All right, so that's kind of how we measure various intervals. And again, it's important to know the number of half steps.